Hey, what is up, guys? I am Hippie, and I want to welcome you back to these 7 days Spook-Tacular. Every day, there's going to be multiple Halloween-themed videos up until Halloween night. Experiences, not videos, experiences. So, we just talked about aliens in the last video. And, things people talk about, you know, like the Mayans. One of the theories is that aliens came and just took all the Mayans away. That's why the Mayan village was just left abandoned. And it's pretty eerie and spooky if you ever go to a completely abandoned town. So I got a quick story, and then my mom's going to lead off with one that is really freaky. Here in Colorado, there's a town called Cripple Creek, which is that's the more popular town. But within a mile from Cripple Creek, there's a town called Victor.
And let me give you a little history. These are mining of gold. They actually still mine gold there today. You can actually go on and Google Cripple Creek, Colorado, and the other one is Victor, Colorado. And you will hear about the old saloons, the shootouts, the well, how can I say, the call girl houses. We've actually gone and got Hippie here some brothel coins that he can tell you about. But these are still today in use. Cripple Creek is actually a gambling town. You can go and you can gamble. And the town he's going to talk to you about, Victor, was actually more popular than Cripple Creek until a major fire. And the strangest thing is, we were just talking about this, and with our ESP that you'll hear later about, it actually did catch on fire about a month ago and burnt one of the buildings that were there that are over 200 years old. So people do live there, even though it is considered a ghost town. And Hippie here is going to tell you about it. Hippie loves the Old West, loves 50s and 60s, so as much information as he can find out about things, he does. And the places here in Colorado that we can go to, we do go to. So I'll turn it over to him and he'll tell you.
So, like she said, Victor is not abandoned. There's still people that live there. There's still miners that live there and their families.
But it reminds you of the movie, if you guys have seen it, The Wrong Turn, where you go into the town and these people are looking at and staring at you, and it just makes you want to turn around and leave. Right.
You ride through Cripple Creek, and it's still very active. There's lots of shops and casinos, and you go across this little bridge, and you ride into Victor, and there is nothing. Like, there's a hotel, there's a couple of stores and a restaurant, and the rest is just locals. Maybe 300-400 people live there.
So let me tell you what this is like. It's like out in the West, like you would see Tombstone back in the days of 1800s, these old buildings. Yes, they have tumbleweeds that are blowing through the street. I kid you not. The buildings are still standing. You can see the old signs, old lace curtains in the window. You just want to get out and sort of just walk around if it weren't for these scary people that are peeking out, because they know who lives there and who doesn't, and they know the vehicles that come and go. So when they see someone coming through, they're like, you know, hey, what are you doing here? And you get the feeling that you don't want to be there. You have to be careful. There are still open mine shafts, mines, mining equipment. All this stuff is just scattered. Old abandoned houses. I mean, it is interesting to look at, but yet it's so scary and takes you back to the time where they said, we actually looked it up, we'd like to do our research. And how many people did they say at the booming time that Victor had at one time?
I think they said somewhere around 50,000 people.
And the money
There's
that
less
they were
than 1,000, I
making.
bet, nowadays. But like she said, you go through and you get the feeling like you don't even want to be there, but you also get the feeling that the locals probably don't want you to be there either. And it's just, with the fire that happened and all the things that have happened in the town of Victor, the entire town feels as if it's haunted. Like you could just go through and find haunted houses anywhere in there, but it's still a town. There's still people.
You get no cell phone service. If you ever got in a car accident or something, you would have to walk up somewhere, hope someone would open the door to a stranger. Your phone's just shut off. There are no towers. You are in the mountains. Go ahead and Google it. Take a look at Cripple Creek. Take a look at Victor and see for yourself. I wish I could download. I've got all kinds of photos when I used to take the kids when Hippie here was like 3, 4 years old, and I wish I could just put some on to show you guys. But like I said, we're trying to keep his identity secret here for a while.
Like a secret superhero.
We'll see how you guys are interested.
Gotta give me the 500, guys.
We'll give you guys your little history, and maybe sometime we will post a few things for you guys to see. But we'll let Hippie here continue with the story about Cripple Creek and some of the donkeys and the free range for the animals, the prison that we went to.
Okay. The creepiest thing that I've ever been involved in is I went to the old prison, right, which was their old prison.
Right.
And they had people in there, and I went and I closed myself in a cell.
This is in Cripple Creek, and we do have pictures of this. We wish we could show you, but we can't invite you guys into our Facebook. So, but how old were some of the kids? As young as 13 years old. They've had gangsters in there and
mob bosses. Jesse, like old-fashioned, like gunmen, Pinkertons that have been corrupted. All kinds of from cowboys to when the mob started coming around, all have been locked in those cells. And I tell you, it's not very fun when you close that door and you hear that metal rattle and the ground shake.
And you got to figure, this is in the mountains. Imagine how cold it was. They didn't have, like, the heating and plumbing. You had to do your business in a bucket, sleep next to a guy that you didn't know if he was going to choke you out in your sleep. They fed you food through these little iron doors. You didn't know if you were going to get out. They had a fire at one time in there. But if you go online and you take a look at Cripple Creek, Colorado, you look at the old sheriff station, you'll be able to see. They have pictures on there that will show you what it looked like inside there. We were actually able to go in. It was 2-story, and they had the prison box where they used to exchange the prisoners to put the keys in and stuff, because these were some pretty bad men. They also had some women in there at one time, but you'll be able to go on and tell you the story about it.
But that's about it for Victor. I'm going to go ahead and let her talk about a place called Tin Cup. That's the town, Tin Cup. Go ahead.
So we're here from Michigan, and we moved here to Colorado, and, you know, we're just so interested. It's the West.
You should say, this was 20 years ago.
This was about 22 years ago, actually, or right after Hippie was born. He was little, and we wanted to go.
This is when Fat Man was born.
We wanted to go and experience some of these ghost towns. You got to remember, we came from Michigan. If people don't know what Michigan is, it's a peninsula between the Great Lakes, and we're used to water and beautiful trees, and coming out here to Colorado was such a shock. It was so dry and tumbleweeds and bears and mountain lions and rattlesnakes and scorpions and tarantulas, and so it was like completely being, if you were in the Arctic and then sort of went to like the Amazon, it was like a shock to our system. So we decided we were going to start going around and discovering ghost towns. We decided to go up toward Leadville, and we found this place called Tin Cup, and we had no map, we had no GPS.
Tin Cup wasn't on the map until it became a ghost town or a par or whatever little stop. It wasn't on the map until then. I don't know if people knew about it until people started finding it.
So what basically it was is they mined silver there. And we had gone, before they decided to turn it into like a little sightseeing ghost town. And the first time we had gone up there, it was on a hill. We had to go up a dirt road. We weren't sure if we were going to make it. We had this little car. We didn't have like a pickup or an SUV or anything. And we thought, well, we didn't even have a cell phone at that time, early 22 years ago. But it was so amazing and beautiful to go up there. I know this is going to gross you guys out, but they had still the working outhouse. Nobody lived there. And I don't know how long it had been since anybody lived there, but us women, we have to go. We just can't. So I used that outhouse. But we were able to go into those buildings. Hippie has a comment here.
I want to mention that, you know, it's going to be a little bit of spoiler. She used this outhouse. Half the town died of cholera. Okay? So Go ahead.
Okay, he sort of went a little into the story, and we'll tell you about that. So we went into the general store, and it was like they just vanished. The cups were still there. They still had the old baking powder and coffee cans and the stools and the tables. It's like they just left. The pumps were still running with water. The doors were not locked.
You could turn water on?
The water was still running. It was running pumps. And from the winter, because it was colder out, the pipes would bust and stuff, so this water was constantly running. Yes, it was worn down and everything. We didn't go into every building because it was spooky. We were afraid that, hey, maybe we are trespassing. There were no signs of it.
You were afraid people were going to come back right then?
Somebody could have been living in there and took us, and nobody would have known. We left no message. We had all of our family with us. We just decided one morning to get up and go. We didn't even say we were going to Tin Cup. We just started following maps, and we just saw this little tiny town and said, let's just try to go see if we could do it. It was right by a hot springs little resort, and we just decided to keep going higher and higher, and we could hear the engine on our car, and we're like, okay, but we finally made it, and we made it to the local cemetery. And it was a tiny little cemetery with the old tombstones and the homemade crosses that they would make. And one thing about us is we like to go through the cemeteries and find the oldest person that we could. And I had come across this little grave, and it had a little cradle on it. And it was really, really sad because cholera at that time had hit this town and wiped out half the children. And there was a little girl in there who had died at, I think she was 3 years old. And then we went just a little bit further. 2 years later, cholera hit again and wiped out her sister that was born after. Exactly, it was like 2 years after, and she had turned 3 years old. So this family had lost two of their daughters at the age of 3 to cholera. And it was just, sort of sad. And on the tombstone, it would say their name, when they were born, of course, when they were deceased, and then it gave why they died, shot, illness, whatever. So it was really interesting and really an important part of history that, something that we wouldn't have experienced. So later, we decided to go back, and I bet you it was like 6 years. They had already turned it into historic ghost town. They did things that maybe they shouldn't, like fix the windows, lock the doors, fix the curtains, made it, sort of like destroyed it. The buildings and stuff were still there, but you weren't actually in the part of history. And they had fenced in the cemetery, which of course somebody as creepy as me, I crawled under the fence to go look. So, of course, the kids would not follow me because it was a cemetery. I broke into the cemetery, people. We didn't take a thing. Hippie, though, said he wishes I would have taken, like, a newspaper.
Not taking all their stuff.
Yeah.
Not ransack the place.
Right,
just taking a newspaper to see what was going on then.
Or just
don't want to go and raid their house, but
we
one
were
thing
honest,
to keep it going.
Good people, and we wouldn't do it.
They were back then, not anymore.
No, we're really honest. We didn't want to destroy or rob or anything like that. So that's our history and story of Tin Cup. And like I said, if you have anything that you want to tell us. Like I said, something about our family has always been fascinated with cemeteries, and just a little, I told Hippie I was going to throw in one that my mom told me when I was little about when she was younger and her renegade motorcycle gang times, that her and her motorcycle family would go to the cemeteries. And in those days, I'm guessing they were in the 1960s, would go to the cemeteries, dig up the people, hang them from trees, steal their jewelry and stuff. And that's what I said. I think you've learned by now my mom is quite a character, how she's lived this long and still is living. But whether that happened or not, I don't know. But it was just a spooky thing that we were sitting here talking about, ghost towns and cemeteries, and that subject came up about how she desecrated someone's resting place. So, people, be respectful of, you know, the people that were here before us. You know, don't go ruin our history. Leave it for others to enjoy. Leave those that were here and suffered early in the years, you know, leave the resting place alone. Just be respectful during this holiday season. So I'm going to turn this over to Hippie. I hope you enjoyed my little tin cup story. And again, if you have something that you want to share with us, we are more than glad to listen and to read. And if it's something else you want to know about it, we'll try to get back to you and add it. But here's Hippie for you.
So let us know if you think that ghost towns are as eerie and creepy as I do. And I hope you guys will join us throughout the rest of this week, all the way up to Halloween night. I have been Hippie. See you guys next time.